Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa, and for a while now, we've been aware of the glorious, or maybe not so glorious, performance-based SR system. Now, on paper, this is a good system because what this does is it compares you against people playing your hero at the same MMR as you and goes, hey, you're playing better than the average, so you're going to gain more SR, so we're going to put you higher up in the ratings. So, hey, your MMR is going to go up, your SR is going to go up, and you're going to be playing against better players because you yourself are a better player. And we know, we've been over this time and time again, we know that the game does a great job of this when you've got a new account. If I start a new account, it only takes me maybe till level 3, level 4, even level 5, and it knows where I am, and it puts me against players who have got hundreds and hundreds of levels on their accounts in quick play. It's not continuing to put me against very new players, because obviously I would destroy them because I've played the game for, well, years at this point. Pretty ridiculous. So, what is the problem with this system? Why is there suddenly a massive amount of comments relating to people being very worried about being flexible in this game? Now, I've covered this a lot, and there is actually a very popular Reddit post which is active right now. If you guys want to go and check that out, there is a link to that in the description below. But this is something I've covered on multiple occasions, and I've categorically said this. And this Overwatch has a competitive system which rewards inflexibility when the game is designed around being flexible. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I put forward the idea of, yes, we use the performance-based SR system up until maybe Diamond or maybe Master, and then at which point we go to a pure win-loss system. So if we win, we gain 25 SR. If we lose 25 SR. That way, it forces teams to play together. Now, again, I've just come from a very interesting, competitive, I guess, batch of games which I've played in, which were, again, really, really bad. And if this is happening at Grandmaster level, it's happening at every single level. There are people who just don't care. They've got to wherever they've got to because they heavily play one hero. Now, why is that a major issue? Why am I even commenting on this? Because right now, there's a lot of stuff going around saying, oh yeah, you know, the SR system, it heavily favors people who just main one hero. And it does. Like, it absolutely does. There is no other way to say this. Like, it does benefit them. And let me explain why. Now, remember, we don't have access to any of the statistics. We don't know how the system works. We don't know if it goes, oh, you've played Tracer for 20 minutes, so we compare you against the other Tracers, and then you maybe, well, if you play Tracer for 20 minutes in one game, it's a pretty long game. You play Tracer for 5 minutes, let's say, and then you move on to Torbjorn, and then maybe you move on to Winston or something like that. How does the game decide what SR to give you? How does it work out what you've done in that game? It's not going to compare you to people who have played Torbjorn, Winston and Tracer, because how many people play Torbjorn, Winston and Tracer in a game? You see what I'm saying? So it is it's a massive grey area, and you can understand why people are like, well, yeah, swapping hero is not going to be great. But let me just tell you why it isn't great. And let me tell you why staying on the same hero is much better for you, because it will mean you get more SR if SR is your goal at the end of the day. Now remember, gaining SR doesn't mean you're a better Overwatch player. That's the biggest problem with all of this stuff. But anyway, before I get into that, let me just tell you the reason why. It's because you play the same hero more, and you keep playing it more and more and more. And it's just like anything in life. If you do the same thing over and over again, you will become better at that. So if you just keep playing Soldier 76 and that's all you do, and you don't care about team comp, you're just going to keep doing that time and time again. Even in games where your team gets wrecked, you're still going to perform pretty well because you've got loads and loads of hours on Soldier 76. So you're actually going to be okay. The game's going to go, oh yeah, well actually, you performed quite well even though you got beat, so we're not going to take that much SR off you. When really, you could have been the cause of that defeat because your team didn't have a tank. But then are you really the cause of that defeat? Maybe you got matched with other people who can only play Soldier or can only play whatever heroes they've got, and nobody could literally play a tank. That's the problem. So let's just rewind this back and let's look at Overwatch and the fact that it's a flexible game, and the fact that it's supposed to be a game where you can swap your hero and counter what the enemy are doing. This is the I guess this is the origin story of Overwatch, right? You can imagine them at Blizzard, right? Okay, we're going to make a team-based shooter, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it kind of rock, paper, scissory, although I don't think Overwatch is rock, paper, scissory, but we're going to make it so one hero counters another hero. Let's say Widowmaker counters Pharah, right? That's a pretty strong counter, but Pharah can still kill Widowmaker. It's not like Pharah's just dead because we picked the Widowmaker. You know, Widowmaker still needs to shoot her and all of that stuff, and Pharah has to, you know, be a bit clever with her movement, etc., etc., etc. I think that's what they wanted, right? And throughout the match, they wanted you to be constantly swapping, changing when the team decides to change, changing when the enemy team changes. Of course, what happened is, and it's only natural to, well, expect this to happen, is people just pick one hero and go, you know what, I like this hero, so I'm just going to keep playing this hero. And that's fine. You know, this is a game at the end of the day. You need to have fun. The problem with Overwatch is there are a ton of different modes. You've got quick play, you've got the arcade, you've got all of the modes in the arcade, and then you've got competitive. And when you don't really have any kind of filter, so you could literally be a Junkrat main. Now, you could be a Junkrat main and get to top 500. Completely doable. You could be a Symmetra main and get to top 500. But the problem with that is, and the problem with the way the system is rewarding this right now, it means when you go into a game, even if you lose, right, because of your Symmetra pick, which maybe isn't working because maybe they've got some team comp which is not just Symmetra isn't going to work, right? It doesn't really matter because you're still playing Symmetra and you're still kind of doing okay with her because you're a good player. Now, of course, all of this depends on you actually being a good player. There will be lots of people out there who have got thousands of hours on Genji but are just no good at playing Genji, and maybe they're stuck in silver, bronze, gold, or whatever. That's because they're not actually learning, they're not actually getting better. So it does require a certain type of player, and that's the problem, guys. I don't want to be playing this game in competitive where it's just a total random like selection. Like, I don't really know who's going to be on my team. I hope that we're going to get healers and tanks. If we don't, then I will fill, and this is the problem. And this is what I think, you know, I don't get salty. I just literally do not get salty when I play Overwatch. I might get frustrated, but I never take that out on my team. But what I think really annoys me the most when it comes to this game is if I go into a match and I look at maybe I'm playing on my soldier account, okay, so you know, this account, I think it's got a 61% win rate on Soldier, which is very high. Tracer, I think, is about 55% win rate, but it plays Soldier and Tracer, right? But let's just say I go into a game. Soldier and Tracer are locked in. I know, and you guys know me as a player, I can play a lot of different heroes anyway. So if I think to myself, all right, well, what I'm going to do is just try and fill. We need a tank, so I'm going to take Winston. I'm not the greatest Winston player, but I kind of know how to play him. But the problem is, though, if nobody on my team wants to play a healer, or, as I had in the game yesterday, there was a Zenyatta who was the only healer. Now, the problem with that is, Zen is not a main healer, he's like a supplementary healer. I'm Winston. We had like a dive comp just with one healer basically because nobody else would play a healer. In fact, people on the team were starting to get very aggressive towards each other because they're like, no, I'm not playing healer, I'm playing McCree. And it's like, okay, fair enough, you know, it still might work. Of course, the problem with this is at the end of the game, I've got no medals. I've maybe suffered more deaths and eliminations than I've got just because I don't have any backup and because the team are not really working with me. So the system looks at me and goes, well, Sty's a bad player, so let's take more SR off him. When really, I should have just locked onto some other DPS hero and just done whatever because I wouldn't have been punished as much. And that's the problem I've got. That's why this system needs to change. I'm going to start making videos now on the competitive system because I'm expecting a post to come off Jeff pretty soon about punishments. I don't want to keep flogging this dead horse, and I want to get some fun back into the channel as well. I just feel that we've got a big community, and I think if we can discuss this and if we can talk about this, then I think it will benefit the game rather than some pointless bullshit video about like, oh yeah, top 5, I don't know, whatever, crap videos. None of that's any good. What we need to do is look at this game and try and make it better, and that is what I'm trying to do, guys. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this as well. Also, let me know if you're playing competitive, because honestly, this season is probably the least competitive I've played so far. And I don't think it's from burnout. I think it's just from not wanting to have my time wasted by people who just, well, waste my time. Anyway, guys, I've been Stylosa, this is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming. Join the Discord, which is discord.gg/UnitLost, and I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.